We turn our focus now to Taylor Swift re-recording her old music and what effect that will have on, well, a lot of things, especially the investment company that purchased her back catalog. To share his perspective on this, we check in with the Duke. How you doing, Dave? I think you're muted. You got the mute button on there?
Hi, I'm back. Yeah, sorry.
All right. So talk to us about the what you we put the article in the show notes. So what's your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are very interesting. I feel that it's important for artists to create their music, but the devaluing of music by outer entities is very interesting in our time. I was in a Party City and I heard somebody doing a Blues Traveler version, and it wasn't Blues Traveler. And I thought it was very interesting that a pretty big corporation like Party City would not be paying for Blues Traveler when it seems to be pretty simple. Taylor Swift, that music is worth a lot. And it was Justin Bieber's manager. He bought all that music, but he kind of did it in like a dark way where she didn't want him to have that music, but he did it anyways because it was, business. But so because it was such a dark move that he made, it's an action reaction thing in the world that everybody knows that. So now her next action is, all right, well, you bought this music. Let me devalue this music even further because I can easily re-record this music, and I'm going to tell all my fans not to buy the music. They're going to make new masters. So if you're the songwriter, you're always going to own your songwriting on a song unless you sell that. But the masters, the label's going to own it if they paid for you to create it. If they paid for the creation of the masters, then they're going to own it. If you paid for it, then you'll own it. But it's so much easier now than it was, say, back in the days. Like if you were Sam and Dave and you recorded at Stax, Hold On, I'm Coming, it's like a classic track. Like that existed on a tape. And for you to have all those session musicians and that plate reverb that was in that other room, that's a lot of energy to make that master recording. Now it's so easy to re-record something. So if you can imagine Cardi B being like, oh, okay, let's re-record Cardi B's track. Well, how are we going to do that, guys? It's going to be really hard. How are we going to get back in that zone? It's going to be very easy. It's got the same instrumental. If you need to re-record it. So I think it's very interesting that people can easily re-record their masters, and it devalues the experience of owning a master from the label. It just takes away all of that bargaining leverage, all the leverage that the label would have to own that master. I did one thing with Salt and Pepper. I got a call from a producer friend, and they brought me in, and I redid the raps on Shoop for their new master. And I don't know who the original dude that did Shoop is, but I can pretty surely say I'm not that guy. I don't look like him, and I don't sound like him. And they had me going through a cup to make that sound. But whatever it takes, they redid it, and now they're able to, relicense that and own the license versus the label, which would have complete control over that license. So it's a very interesting leverage shift in our time, day and age, for artists to be able to re-record their masters and then do whatever they want with it. So it's a changing of the guard is how I kind of looked at the Taylor Swift and the overall thing of the music business and the re-recording of masters and the ease of it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And my thought is just like, when she wrote these songs and recorded them, I mean, it was a different mindset back then. So when you're re-recording, it's like, can you recapture that magic? Or do you, the musicians, sometimes have that habit of saying, oh, I wish I added this to the song back then. And then they keep on adding all these things and it almost becomes a different song. So, while, there's some masterpieces in the catalog, can she recapture that? And would that be what is used for sync placements and things like that? Or will her fans really want to hear some of her older songs with like this new spin on it?
I'll give you two perspectives on that. One perspective is I've had a lot of good friends that have had hits, in the 90s, redoing their masters because the labels, have owned it for so long. And as a producer, as like somebody behind the scenes on that, their effort was just to make it exactly the same as the original, like down to the nth degree, right? And at the same time, as a listener, I don't know if you guys have heard, but We're Not Gonna Take It, the Twisted Sister, that's on a lot of commercials, and that's not the original one. And you can tell because the vocal sounds just a little bit different. Also, the Final Countdown. If you guys have heard the Final Countdown and Rat Round and Round, I've listened to Rat Round and Round a million times, and that new one that's out in the commercials is not the original. But they're doing their best to make it copy. Will they be able to do it, like you said, to get in that same zone? No, they won't. It's not the same room. It's not the same microphone. It's not the same year. It's not the same person. You change. But they're doing their best to make it exactly the same. And only like really quality listeners like us three will be able to tell the difference on it. But it is what it is.